Kara, what's the news from the Wasteland?
In the last year, Fort Hood in Texas has seen 39 dead and missing persons, including suicides and murders. 11 of these are still unexplained. I don't know much else to say about this other than that many military bases in the US saw soldiers who are ostensibly far from any fighting die under mysterious circumstances. Possible explanations for this include cartel or gang violence, although this could only explain a fraction of the incidents. This was a bizarre article
It
to
gets
read.
my mind reeling on all sorts of great science fiction and horror that this thing could be. Unfortunately, it's probably just weird rapist dudes. But, I'd like to think that it's some sort of crazy haunting from traumas of the past.
So the article I read suggested, and it was this long Vanity Fair article, and it really, it was the sort of article, like an Atlantic article, where it, has a bunch of poignant moments and doesn't really have any answers, right? And it suggested a number of things.
You're going to get to real news reporting at
this point. Exactly. So one of the victims, for instance, was killed by her boyfriend, and the military was super reluctant to investigate and all of this stuff. And so, yeah, I think that's part of it. And some of the other part of it is a lot of the people in this who were assigned to this particular place, were very low income people who had some gang affiliation. So that makes sense. I did however, that in the article, it just as a passing reference pointed out that the town is, in fact, built on an ancient Indian burial ground.
Everything is built on an ancient Indian burial ground in the U.S.
Well, yeah. Not everything, just every other thing.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought up the income thing, because that's what was passing through my head, and I was kind of figuring out a way to, put it out there without offending anybody. But
yeah,
we do know that people from lower incomes and hardships in lives tend to not tend to, but are statistically more likely to have some of these problems. And a lot of people who join the military are that people just starting out in their lives, or people trying to escape from their lives, or people just wanting to get away from where they currently are at and reset.
Yeah, it did point out that some of these problems happen all over, essentially, in every base. And 2020 also, this was last year, and it's the same sort of thing. We're hearing in the news about this crime wave. It's there was an unprecedented economic recession suddenly. Right. Of course there was a crime wave, if it continues this year or next year, then wake me up, right? But so I think a lot of this is, you pack a lot of low income, low education, young people, mostly young men, into a place, and because Fort Hood, as I understand it, this might not be right, but it's not where they do a lot of the high end intelligence work and stuff. So it's
infantry stuff like that.
Right. So it's
where you're going
to. So the demographics just are such a way that violent death, suicide, whatever is more common. It's just so weird. 11 soldiers die and their deaths are unexplained. How?
It's like the UFO.
How does that happen?
Right. It's like the UFO thing. You think the military would be all over this.
Yeah.
You think the military would be on, no, lights out at this. Everybody's going these places. We're putting trackers on you. We own you. We're going to.
Right.
So it's weird. And
if they were dying in Afghanistan, okay, stuff happens, I guess. But they're in Texas,
Right.
We should be able to get a handle on this.
And ultimately, it's just terrifying. It's yet another thing that's sort of saying that the military isn't on top of their business, and frankly, I find that terrifying.
Yeah, and I don't know. I want to point out, I've never been in the military. I'm sure there's any number of people who are listening to this and rolling their eyes.
Well, they might be rolling their eyes, but I would bet you a lot of the people who are rolling their eyes are not in the military. military, and here's
Maybe,
what I
yeah.
want to shove in their faces. I think the military guys are probably sitting there going like, what the hell is up with these commanders? They should have their stuff done. Don't walk on your boss's lawn. Real military guys.
Mhm.
But the all the people who are coming down on this, basically saying that it's just them and, oh, whatever, money shouldn't allow you to make bad decisions. That's a lot of these stoic guys who have this deal like, well, I take care of my own and they should do theirs too. And like, it's a statistic that I brought up before, but I always think it's interesting. And that is that after World War One, Germany was so decimated that it's estimated that 1 in 3 women performed some sort of prostitution to take care of their families. And it just shows that what economic collapse and stuff can do to force people into doing things that we all say that we would never do. You know, Everybody says, oh, well, I would never do that. Well, I'm a big tough guy. I got kids. If I had to prostitute myself to feed my children, I would do that. So it's like, people need to, I don't know, people just need to put themselves in check and shut the hell up.
I mean, I think the
Obviously very frustrated here lately.
I think the pandemic and the economic issues are like a sort of second order cause, right? Because these people are like, they didn't lose their jobs, right? They're all still getting paid, even if they're getting paid to stay home and quarantine. But I think it's just this generally contributes to an environment that probably like ripples through their social circles and intensifies some of these issues.
Well, I gotta say, there better be a great horror movie in the works out there about what the real cause of this is.
Maybe give it a couple of years.
Too soon?
Yeah, maybe. We'll talk about this in 2030.
All right.